who asks, why is there more O3 tiny whoops and mini drones versus Walksnail? Walksnail is lighter and cheaper. Interesting you ask that. There was a growing a wave of Walksnail bind and flies. GepRC had a bunch of them, comes to mind. Not a lot, but more than there are today. And then one day, a bunch of them went away. I'm not going to say they all went away, but almost all of them went away. Beta FPV had a Walksnail bind and fly. And Blunty, I can't remember if we had confirmation of this. Like, what was our degree of confidence? Because there was a rumor, maybe a confirmed rumor, that DJI went to manufacturers and said, we don't want you to sell Walksnail bind and flies, and incentivized them to do that. And I don't know whether it was threats or it was the carrot or the stick, but basically a bunch of Walksnail bind and flies just got pulled off the market. Go ahead.
That was a claim by Walksnail. That's the only source for that claim. No retailer ever confirmed that. What I'll say is, like, there's two scenarios here. One is like, yes, DJI did this. The other is DJI doesn't care about Walksnail at all, and these retailers found out that when they made bind and flies, they didn't sell, and they had a bunch of shit sitting on the shelf. So, like, I think you could see either thing as being true, right? Because Walksnail sell-through is clearly way lower than DJI. I don't think anybody would dispute that, right?
Yeah.
Like, the question is, what does sell-through have to? We saw this with HC0 too. What does sell-through have to be to make it worth making a bind and fly, making multiple bind and flies, making a line of extra SKUs that you have to build out, set on the shelves, factor into the cost of goods and all that stuff. So I think I would guess that a lot of it is driven by the sell-through rate versus the O3 and things that are way more popular. But that's just my guess.
Okay, well, thank you for that perspective. I couldn't remember whether we had gotten some like off-the-record comments from retailers, but you're telling me it was just Walksnail making this claim, and it's worth acknowledging that Walksnail might have other motivations. Like, if these manufacturers did this, they made a bunch of Walksnail bind and flies, and then they didn't sell, and the manufacturers said, "Hey, Walksnail, we're not gonna make any more of these. They're not selling." Then Walksnail might have gone, DJI coming after the little guy, to cover up the fact that they just weren't selling. On the other hand, that 100% sounds like something DJI would do. Like, DJI makes good products, but also there are many stories of DJI doing kind of shady, competitive, or some would say anti-competitive things. And like, if DJI were to say, hey, look, if you give us exclusivity, we're going to give you an extra percent margin. It's your call. Like, is that shady or is that just competition? Opinions will vary. Like, if I had to guess, I would guess that DJI wouldn't go. If I were DJI, which obviously I'm not because I don't have $27 billion, so clearly, what do I know? But if I were DJI, I wouldn't go to a manufacturer and say, you're not allowed to sell our competitors. And if you do, we're cutting you off. Because that sounds like, oh, I'm scared of them, right? And also, it's like I'm threatening. I would just be like, hey, guys, yeah, we got a special margin for people who don't sell our competitors. It's up to you. I don't know. Then I have to pay somebody an extra margin, and that's never good. But we don't know. We don't know. But what we do know, because we can observe the facts, is that there was a time period, maybe 2 years ago-ish. That's a Blunty. I don't know if you know better when this was. But there was a time period, maybe 2 years ago-ish, where like GepRC had a whole bunch of Walksnail bind and flies, Beta, FPV, etc., etc. And then like suddenly they were just gone. And we heard this rumor.